Welcome to Hotter Than Ever, where we uncover the unconscious rules we've been following, we break those rules, and we find a new path to being freer, happier, sexier, and more self-expressed. I'm your host, Erin Keating. I want to say a special shout out to people who have just found this podcast. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Hotter Than Ever. I hope you enjoy what you hear. I hope it resonates with you and means something to you and gives you some sense of freedom and possibility for your life over 40. And to the people, the beautiful hotties who listen every week, I am so glad to have you here. And it is great to see you. Well, not see you, but I feel your presence and your support, and I am grateful for all of it. I want to share an exciting thing with you, which is that I am doing my first live show in 20 years. So I used to be a writer performer. I used to get up on stage and say funny things. I had sketch groups. I did all this stuff when I was young before I found my career with a capital C. And I am like with a lot of things in my life, I am returning to the things that used to light me up in my teens and 20s, sex and performing and expressing myself and being pretty outspoken and out there in the world. So the incarnation that is taking for me is a show called Swipe Club. It is a live show about dating online over 40, and I made it with my friend, the talented and charismatic Amber J. Lawson. It's going to be so fun. It is going to be a really fun, informative, and empowering night out here in Los Angeles if you happen to be in town on July 19th. It is at the Crow Theater in the Bergamot Station Arts Complex on the West Side. On Friday, July 19th at 8 p.m., you can get tickets at crowcomedy.com, or you can look for all the details in the Hotter Than Ever newsletter. I could not be more psyched about this. I'm nervous as fuck. Whoa. I'm doing it, though. I'm doing it for you. Okay. Today, I talk to Ophira Eisenberg. Ophira is a stand-up comedian, writer, and host of the award-winning podcast, Parenting is a Joke, which is a delight, and you should definitely listen to it. If you're an NPR listener, you may have heard her as the host of the NPR game show Ask Me Another, which she did for years and years. If you're a stand-up fan, you may have seen her on The Late Late Show or Comedy Central. You may have seen her live at a comedy club if you go out to shows, because she is literally everywhere. She also tells stories with The Moth, wrote a memoir called Screw Everyone, Sleeping My Way to Monogamy. It's so good. And her recent comedy special, Plant-Based Jokes, is streaming on YouTube. So much of what Ophira and I talk about in this conversation is the constant creative and professional pivot required of a career in the arts. And yes, being a comedian is an art form. We also talk about what happens to that life, which is shaky to begin with when you add motherhood on top of it. We talk about how our culture conspires to make so many of the big systemic problems in the world into personal ones. Like, oh, women are just not being positive enough. You have to be grateful, really be in gratitude of that cup of tea this morning. Don't forget about, the fact that women don't make the same amount of money as men do. Oh, God, you got to laugh or else you'll cry. Anyway, her take on that is both profound and hilarious. All right, let's listen. Oh, I'm supposed to say, all right, let's get hot. Ophira Eisenberg is a stand-up comedian, writer, and host of the award-winning comedy podcast, Parenting is a Joke, which is a delight, and you should definitely listen to it. If you are an NPR listener, you may have heard her as the host of the NPR game show, Ask Me Another. If you're a stand-up fan, you may have seen her on The Late Late Show or Comedy Central or many other places on TV. You may have seen her live at a comedy club if you go out to shows, because she is everywhere. She also tells stories with The Moth. Her memoir, Screw Everyone, Sleeping My Way to Monogamy, is hilarious, and her recent comedy special, Plant-Based Jokes, is streaming on YouTube. Ophira Eisenberg, welcome to Hotter Than Ever.
Thanks, Erin. So nice to see you.
It is so nice to have you here. As you know, we have known each other for a very long
True.
time. And back in the day when we were both starting out in New York. And I have been a fan and admirer of
Oh,
yours for so
so
long.
nice.
And it has been truly my delight to watch your career expand and blossom in so many directions. I'm just going to list all the things you do because probably no one ever gives you this reflection.
Okay.
Ready? Stand up,
Yeah.
storytelling,
Correct.
hosting, writing,
Mm-hmm.
one person shows,
Yeah.
podcasting.
True.
Am I missing anything?
I moderate panels and interview people.
Moderate panels and interview people. Yeah, you are the queen of the
I
pivot.
stress
You
a lot.
are
Is that in there?
stress.
Stressed out?
Yeah. Are you stressed out?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I see you from the outside. I don't see your nervous system, but you're so endlessly resourceful at finding ways to get your voice out there. And I just want to talk about what your journey has been like as a comic, as an artist, and then we can dig into all the particulars.
Sure. Sounds great. I feel honored. Is this?
Do you
Am I
good?
live at my own funeral? Is that what this is? When people tell you
Better. You're alive
you
at your
going.
life. Yeah. Yeah. So I would love to hear, and I think the audience would love to hear what your journey has been like, because it's an unusual career that you have.
It is true. And I can never decide truly if, maybe everyone does this, like, was it the right thing to do? I don't mean that in an existential way, but I just mean that, just as you pointed out, I wear all these different hats. And from one point of view, you can go, oh, that's great, like diversify your portfolio, right? And then
Yeah.
from another point of view, it's like people really need people to be one thing. It's confusing to them if you can do other things. It's actually, sometimes I feel like it can work against you, because even when I was hosting, I still meet people in the world that know me from NPR, and they had no idea I did stand up. It didn't even occur to them. And I get it. Those things seem very, very far apart from each other.
Where would they have found you if you weren't out there performing?
Yeah. I mean, but now they're coming to a show and they're like, "Oh, I know you, but I had no idea you did stand up." And it's sort of funny that, just generally we don't make those jumps. Yeah. And they're like, "When did you start stand up?" I'm like, "No, I always did stand up." and
Right.
I
I was a host, and then I realized I was funny.
Yeah,
it didn't work that
right,
way.
Exactly. As I was just saying to you before we
No.
hopped on this thing, like, I know a doctor who is now taking an improv class, and that wasn't my journey. I wasn't doing one thing, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try stand up. It was like that's where I kind of
Right.
started, or actually, I think I started as a writer, or someone who wanted to write, and some of what I was writing just seemed to end up going more in the comedy realm than in, fiction or even nonfiction.
Right. So you sort of followed the breadcrumbs of your own inspiration.
Yeah.
And then you moved to New York to be a comic.
I moved to New York to be a comic. Yeah, it was definitely an experiment. And because I'm bullheaded, I didn't pull the plug. I just kept going. So, but things happened around me in the New York scene, which were exciting. And really, one of those things was the explosion of the storytelling scene, which
so
new.
For the listeners who don't know what that is, because this is a podcast about empowering women over 40, I because of my background, I love to talk to comedians and artists and storytellers. But I think people don't know, like, maybe they've seen the Moth podcast.
Maybe.
They've heard the Moth podcast, but I mean, talk about what the Moth is and what a story slam is and what that was like to get up on stage in that new world when you had been telling jokes.
Yeah, and I think the trend, so I think when we think about stand-up, we think of a lot of great stand-ups who were storytellers, but the trend in New York in early 2000s as far as what people were doing in stand-up comedy was jokes. It was one-liners. It was like very much short little jokes. So if you had longer narrative pieces or things that were stories, people were like not into it. Like that was just not what was cool.
Not
It
done.
was not
Yeah.
done. And so a lot of us had these bigger pieces, and actually for me, because I have um I had pieces that were just funny dating stories, for example, but then I had some stuff that was more
Yeah.
serious and really didn't know what to do with it. So there were solo show
Right.
classes out there, because there was also a thing where
Yep.
someone would throw up a, hour or maybe 90-minute solo show about their life, beginning, middle, and end. And somehow, with all of this, short form storytelling became its own stage. And the one that I think
Mm.
many people were doing it, but the one that became the most prominent was The Moth. And they ran a story slam, which I'll just explain in a minute. But anyways, it was in the
Yeah.
Lower East Side. It was at just a venue that did slam poetry, and
The New
the
Eurekan Poets
Nuyorican Poets
Cafe.
Cafe, which is a
Yep.
great venue. And they would basically say, okay, the theme for tonight is betrayal, let's say. And then people would
Yeah.
come to this night. Nobody knew what was going to happen. It was just excitement in the air, like nothing I'd ever seen before. And instead of the audience being filled with, I don't know, just I guess random people, for lack of a better descriptor, it was filled with artists and writers and people that worked in television and people that worked in theater, and it was a really artistic crowd. And then
That's my crushiest crowd. I
yeah,
get the biggest crush on the Moth
oh, it's
audience.
amazing.
Yeah.
And because that's just the whole ethos, it kind of created and grew. And then people would throw their name in the hat with the hope of being picked to tell a 5-minute, like true narrative story from their life that had to do with the theme, roughly. And it could be
Right.
funny, it could be sad, it could be horrifying, it could be a tearjerker, it could be whatever you want. You just have 5 minutes to do it. And
Right.
it was incredible for 5 minutes, and somehow we all stuck to the time. And
Well, because there would be like a
there would
cello that
yes
would play you
there would
off,
be like
right?
a violin
Yeah.
or a cello or a bell or something like that. But it was sort of done. I felt like that contract was just what everyone agreed to worked anyways. And I still host these slams, because now they are all over the country, all over the world, I think, but
Yeah.
definitely all over the country. And they run monthly. And I will say that now the Moth grew into many more live shows, and then it grew into a main stage aspect where it was be 10-minute more curated stories, and then it was a podcast, and then it became a radio show, and it won a Peabody and a McCarthy and just celebrated, and it's extremely popular.
And you have some stories in the Moth
I
book,
I
right?
do, yeah, on the
Yeah.
podcast and in the book. And
Yeah.
now when I host a slam, the only thing that, to harken back to the past where I was like, oh, that was kind of cool, is everyone is so attuned to the form. Like
Mm.
there's something about when the newness of something really brings out
Yeah.
sometimes people's rawest and most vulnerable and most interesting work. But now that everyone is attuned to the form, often I'm like, oh, even at the slams, people are coming up like really polished. And I like it when
Yeah.
someone takes a chance. I like it when someone shows up and goes, oh, I just got to this show and I saw the theme and I thought, maybe I have a story, and throws their
I
name.
love that. And Ophira, my favorite is when it's like a firefighter or a
The
lawyer or a
best.
teacher, when it's non-professionals who are just gifted at telling stories, because everybody has those people in their lives.
And I
And these folks are like, actually, I'm good at this, and I'm gonna step up on a stage even though I'm not really a performer.
I would even challenge that and say, I don't even care if they're good at it. Everyone, but they have a story to tell. Like
Mm,
something has happened to them, because
mm.
and something has happened to everybody. Something has happened to everybody, but of course you have to figure out what that is, why you need to tell it, if you're ready to tell it. Also, you can't, no one can tell their entire story in 5 minutes, so it is an exercise in like pick a portion.
Right. You're coaching. You're coaching
I
now.
mean, it's a little bit that, and I do, sometimes people, you find out at the end of their story that they are talking about this one day at a cafe, but when it starts to like, when I was 4 years old, you're like, what's going on right
Right, right, right. Right. There's some framing
yeah.
issues. Yeah.
Anyways, but
Yeah.
I sort of love that, because I love seeing that, because I do like I like it when people are just a little less polished. I like polish too, don't get me wrong. It's completely entertaining and wonderful.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
job. Right. Right. No, it is beautiful. Actually, Erica, who produces this podcast, was this story is a Grand Slam winner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're surrounded by mothness.
Mothness.
Yeah. So then what was so you had been doing stand up, you found the moth. That was an immediate like, yes, check that box. That feels good. I'm in this groove. And then you sort of grew into that world of the moth.
Right. And to be fair, the moth, like that's not unless you work in the office, that's not a career.
No,
right? They were just
neither is stand up in the beginning.
Sure. But not like, even if you're a great storyteller, the moth might hire you, pay you a fee to go tell a story on a stage somewhere. But you're not like, you don't now have a job with the moth. I think some people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a, it's a body of content where they're using different people's stories and engaging different people for their live events and stuff, based on their themes and how they're curating it. But I think there's sometimes this misconception. I've had many people just say to me, like, how do I get a job with the moth? And I'm like, you mean for fundraising or communications, like in their office? Because there's
Are you a marketing person?
Because there's no job with the moth. Sure, you would like to tell a story on that stage. I get that. So, but I lucked out, one of the few lucky things in my life, and there are not a lot of them, which was just exciting, which was to be in a room with people as something grew. So, and it's changed so much, but I remember when they were like, we're going to do a podcast, and I didn't even know what I was like, a podcast? Let me get this straight.
Right.
You're going to stick a microphone into a computer and talk to it and throw it out there, and it's completely uncurated. Like, who is going to listen to that garbage?
Right.
Not knowing, like, oh, this is exactly what's going to be everything. So
right, there will soon be 3 million podcasts.
Yeah, and they needed hosts. They needed hosts to guide the experience, and that was. I sort of had been doing a lot of hosting and stand up, and I guess I had the right personality for it, which is often why I was asked to host. And so they had me host a slam, and then it became a thing that I would do fairly often for them. And then I would host a main stage on the road, and I had a few stories that they wanted to record, so it became I was in their regular kind of pool.
Yeah, that's nice, because I think as a stand-up, you're out there sort of gigging,
the grind,
developing your voice, and it's really nice to have found a little home for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then was NPR as a result of that? Do you think you got on their radar as a result of that?
Surprisingly, no, but there was a connection, because as they were developing what ended up being Ask Me Another, they were piloting it, I guess, for a couple years, and they didn't really figure it out. But their audio engineer was the same audio engineer who did the slams, and
amazing.
Just out of coincidence, they said, as he told me, they said, we, for 2 years they were casting. They're like, we've seen every stand-up comic in New York. And he was like, really?
You're like, not me?
Yeah, not me. And they were like, what about Ophira? And they were like, we don't know Ophira. And he was like, oh yeah, she's, I was in this person's ears monthly for years, and they were the person that suggested me. And it was the only, I got a call from a producer there that was like, hey, do you want to come in and audition? They'd never auditioned anyone for anything before. That was just not how it went. The whole thing was like kind of a new idea. And it was the only thing in my entertainment career where someone said to me, what college did you go to? I was like, what? I was like, wow, why? Why do you need to know?
Yeah.
What if I said no college? But
yeah, not hired. Not hired. Yeah. Not NPR pedigree.
So it was so funny that I do, that just so stuck out to me, and I still
gorgeous.
Remember it.
Well, that's gorgeous, because those of us who were academic achievers, we want to feel like that meant something. We worked really hard to get to those colleges.
It's true. Absolutely. I worked really hard to
Yeah.
get to my college, even though it was a Canadian college. But
Yeah. Yeah. You can
and
say.
we call it
You can say.
universities. Okay,
Oh,
just to be
sorry.
clear.
Well,
I know in America,
here there's a difference.
yeah, in America,
There's some are
universities,
colleges and some are universities.
but our universities, it's always seemed like universities are lesser here. They see them as
No, universities have graduate programs.
Ah.
Colleges are just undergrad.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I still went to
Yeah.
university by both definitions.
Well, good.
Yes.
I want to fast forward a little bit to what it's like being a mom and a comic, because that's what your current incarnation is all about.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've been a mom for a minute, but talking about the experience of being a woman, being a comic, being a mother, and how those things all fit together when we live in a culture where moms are judged so harshly, women are judged so harshly, women aren't supposed to be funny. There's that endless, boring conversation about, like, are women funny? Like, what?
Continuous.
Yes. Moving on.
Continuous and honestly, I think part at least we used to ask the question. I think now there's a huge amount of people that have just settled on no, and they're done.
That's fine. You don't need everyone.
Yeah,
to
at least
like
for
you.
a while it was like, well, I don't know, maybe we should give it a chance, and now it's just no, which is hilarious. So, or is it hilarious? Okay, so the I think I started this podcast called Parenting is a Joke, partially because I had this kid, and because it was never really in my idea of my life to be a mother. I came at it late, so I hadn't ever conceptualized what it would be like in so many
Right.
ways. Like, I will just tell you right off the bat, naively, I thought I was going to bounce back and just go to work like I did before. I never ever thought about just the mere aspect of spending time with my child. I just assumed I would bring this human into the world and then screw off and follow my career again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
I don't not relate to that. Like, I had twins at a moment which was like really the biggest job of my career. It was the job I had been working for 15 years. And then I got pregnant because I was old and I had to work hard at that. And then I got pregnant, and then I was like, oh, now I have to do all the things.
yeah. And
okay.
so, and I looked around, and I looked around in the comedy community, and all of a sudden I noticed that, well, first I noticed that a lot of the men that I had been working with for years were fathers. And I was like, wow, I never knew that. So that was automatically just like, that's just, the gender inequity of how moms, the burden and just all how the jobs, how the,
Well, they could just go around being a dad forever and you would not even know. But if
Exactly.
you're a mom, like, it's real clear that everybody's aware of it.
Right. So then I'm looking at the other moms going, well, how did they do it? And that was just the kind of question that I was opening up to explore in a podcast and have some fun conversation about it. And unfortunately, thus far, the answer is hire people. Like, the answer is not actually, I figured out, everyone has a little bit of a hack of like, oh, I figured out that I have to use this kind of time like this, or it's a bit of a mess and I have to accept kind of a lower standard across the board for, anything from like making meals to house cleaning, or, you know what, I've just decided it is a one man, it's a family band and we all do this together, and that's the end of it. And it's super complicated and not perfect. But mostly I am privileged enough to hire people.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, nannies, babysitters.
I mean, if you're lucky, you have extended family that can really step up, but many people do not. I do not.
No. No, I never did.
Yeah. So then I just find like it irks me a little bit. And I've had some great conversations with some super smart people who, we just come back to how this this great tension between what we want to do as women, what we how we're most of us most of us have to work just because a two income situation, if you're lucky enough to have that, is what is going to be able to drive you to be able to pay for yourself to live in this society with a child. You have to have
Yes.
income coming in. So you're both working. And then, but as the woman, there's no support for you. It's just literally,
No.
it's like the standard you expect to, when you're at work, you expect to put out 100%. And when you're at home as a mom, 100%, and no transition in between. Like I always talk about how I want, those chambers scuba divers go into to prevent them from having the bends when they come up quickly from the
Oh
deep
yeah,
sea
like a transition zone.
transition zone, because the the moment between I am mom and now I have to throw on my heels and some makeup and go out and be stand up comic, like
Yeah.
these things are they're completely different. I wouldn't say they're completely different people, but they're totally different feelings of not putting out on stage the mom I am at home. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, right. So you have to live in like a duality
Yes.
that most people do not have to. Although I think everyone has their own version
Everyone
of
has
it,
their own
right?
version.
Yours is just really heightened because you have to go put on a show every night.
Go put on a show, and it's a very different, I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh my God, I go from taking care of one audience to taking care of another audience. Uh, but, and I'm not saying that.
Their well-being is in your
Yeah,
hands.
and then the touring in the night is a very specific thing, and that is, that is specific to people in entertainment. But I also know a lot of people whose hours, whatever their job is at night, or it's long, or they're working with different time zones now, and it's increasingly hard. Yet, Erin, anything out there that you're looking at is still talking about these 9 to 5 jobs that nobody has. I do not get
Right.
why it's like it doesn't. I always feel like what is out there is 7 years behind.
What do you mean out there?
Like if you buy a book
Yeah.
on like, hey, I'm a new mom, and even if it's like the career mom, like it's just still talking to you like you have banking hours.
Yeah.
There's an ongoing thing
Yeah, and we
about,
don't.
yeah, and
No.
perfect mornings are always like, get up an hour before your kid, and
What?
and I'm like, so I have 3 hours of sleep because I'm coming home late.
Yeah. That's how my dating life is. Um
Yeah.
I'm coming home late and I'm getting up early,
Yeah,
and that's just
that's just what it
it's the
is.
price I pay.
And
Yeah.
then people look at you with sad eyes and go, "You must be exhausted." And you're like, "Yeah,
Do people do that? That's so
sure. Of
rude.
course they do."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's a heightened version of the double bind that we're in as women who want to live outside the domestic sphere,
Yeah,
and women whose primary identity is not mom, right? Like is I am this and a mom,
exactly.
and I never wanted to stay at home. I had someone at my when I was working in television say to me, I bet, you're going to have those kids and you're going to always want to stay home with them. And I don't even know if you'll come back from maternity leave. And I was like, I'm sorry. Have we met? Like, do you not see me? Do you not see my ambition? Do you not see how passionate I am about this? This is what I've been building my whole life.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think that would have been the right thing. My mother, was a stay-at-home mom, and she always wanted a career. I mean, on
mm,
to the end, she told me that all the time, and she was so capable, and so she ran the house kind of like a career. I mean, it was spotless. She cooked everything. There was always a
mm,
project that she was, she'd look around and be like, "Now I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to." It was just consistent. She really, and she knew how to sew, and I mean, everything
that's amazing.
was like that. Um, but she really was hardcore about like have a career. I didn't have a career and she wanted it. The idea of a job, just she was so that was such a thing that kind of ate at her. I think the idea of that, and just didn't have that opportunity. and because she was smart and capable, and then you're just
Right.
and not that she didn't love raising kids, but she was also kind of excited when I left, the youngest of six. She was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
go!" And now I'm gonna have a life, and she did.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm happy for her. I'm
yeah,
happy that she'd manifested that because
yeah. She
no, not
traveled.
everybody
Yeah,
does. Yeah.
yeah. She didn't have a lot of money, but she did with it what she could. Um, so, and I joke that I think if I was a stay-at-home mom, I probably would have been a stay-at-home alcoholic, because I feel like like what would have been my outlet, because it's, I think as the kids get older, obviously your challenges are different and they are more independent, they need less from you. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I just think in the beginning, I sort of wish in hindsight, but who knows, that I did give myself more time to maybe take care of myself, because I pushed
Mm,
myself really hard to get back out there, not understanding that it was like I was just too tough on myself, and it probably would have benefited everybody if I would have just taken a sec. But there's something too about the entertainment career where it's just like, got to keep going, can't like fall off the booking list, can't fall off the radar, can't.
right.
Yeah,
You disappear. There's 30 women, in line to take your spot because there's only one spot for woman on a lineup,
true.
Like yeah, I totally relate to that. I felt like I could not take time out of my career because I had the same thing. I had a great job that a lot of people would have wanted. And people were always sort of circling,
Yeah,
and I wanted to keep it and I wanted to grow it, and also I had this sense that if I stepped out financially, I would never be able to step back, like, because I needed to make enough money to cover the childcare to make it worth it to stay
yes,
working. And then and if you take that time out, then you lose those earning years, and then you're already behind. I mean, it's so brutally unfair. So brutally unfair, the compromises we make mothers make.
yeah.
Um
And I don't really
when
know a way around it. Like, I still don't. I was kind of
oh,
hoping at this point, after talking to, you know, whatever, 80 parents, some of them men, like when I talk to people for the podcast, some of them are fathers for sure, that there would be like a little bit of a nugget of like, aha, this, whatever this is the way around it. But no, the answer is no to that. Norway is maybe the answer.
right. Right. I think this is actually a good pivot into a conversation we were having before the podcast, which is how our culture makes everything the problem of the individual
Yes.
when the systems are set up in such a way uh, to disadvantage you. So I think about, like, I used to work at Snapchat, and people complain is social media is so addictive, like, and the product is built to addict you, but the addiction is your fault
Right.
and your problem, and you just need to put timers on, and you just need to really watch that, and you need to put that phone down an hour before bed, and you need to it's all on you
That's
when
right.
they're profiting. Snapchat and every other platform that is social media, they're profiting from, the intended effects of their product.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think that's the general, a lot of what's going on. And I could get deep into this conspiracy theory kind of thinking. That's what I call it. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's just what I call it, to be a little self deprecating, because maybe, actually, Erin, maybe I'm right. But I look across a lot of,
The aliens did build the
yeah,
pyramid.
exactly. Like, part of me, I mean, I'll just throw it out there, and some listener can tell me I'm wrong. I look at the legalization of weed, and I think part of it is because the substance is not harmful, and we've like figured that out. I think some of it is like, yes, we need to stop putting people in jail for possession of weed. That is like a complete, well, it's racist usually, and it's also a complete misuse of what people who are defending the law, let's just say, should be doing with their
Right.
time. And then there's
Right.
another part of me of, or is it like, hey, everybody, get high and placate your, like, get nice and placated and don't worry while we take everything from you.
Or we continue to give you nothing
And
or
could you, yeah,
less.
but
Yeah.
you're cool
Yeah.
because you've got some you got 10 milligrams of edibles that you can buy down the street. So, you're cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Brave New World theory. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yes. So, and then I just feel like, and this is very, I was saying Norway because I guess there is a stand up scene that is
How
flourishing.
funny could they possibly be?
I know they're flourishing. It's like why they bring in a lot of other places, from I'm sure from England and Scotland and Ireland. Very obviously great stand-ups come from there, but also America and Canada. People go over and do that scene, and Sweden and Norway, and I don't know about Finland, but nonetheless, that supposedly there is some sort of percolating expat scene. Everyone speaks English there too, so they doesn't have to be expat. And because I remember a friend of mine moved there who was an big improv person, moved there to work a different kind of writing job, and she was like, it's amazing here, everything, like, such a good quality of life. I feel completely at peace with stuff. If you like feel so good, you walk here, things are easy, like things are taken care of, there's this community, da, da, da. She goes, but no, nothing's fun, no funny, there's no funny. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I
Can
mean,
that be taught?
lutefisk is only funny out of context.
Right. Right. And one of the things that I loved when I moved to America I'm Canadian, one of the things I loved is that, unless you're at a hockey game, I think it's hard pressed to find a Canadian that is like, woohoo, like that kind of person. But
Uh-huh.
America is 100% woohoo. That it's like a
Yes. We're all
woohoo
about it.
place. And in the beginning, I was like, this is intoxicating because it feels so great. It feels so great to be like, yeah, enthusiastic. Come on, let's do it. Positivity, high five. Come, like I was like into it. But
Yeah.
now I see it from a different perspective, Erin. Now that I see that so little, I guess so little attention is put towards social structures
Yeah.
and larger national programs that could support people. I go, oh, I get it. So we all have to be positive because it's all in our power, right? Manifest your success. Yeah, that's right. It's all up to me. It's not my fault that like the fact that I didn't get I'm just throwing something out, didn't get a promotion because I'm a woman. That's my fault because I didn't manifest it.
You didn't work hard
I didn't
enough,
work hard enough.
sweetheart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably didn't smile.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that reverse
Yeah.
of and that happens to moms all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, your kid has a learning disability. What did you eat when you were pregnant? I mean, it will go that far.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, tell me other things that you've uncovered there at that in the mom verse, which you're now a part of.
In the momverse. Well, I will tell you that I talked Liz Tennedy, who hosts the Motherly podcast, and I believe is even the co-creator of that entire world community website. We were talking, and she said something so interesting to me that is along this level, which she's like, you know, why don't we have the female Benjamin Franklin? Why don't we have the female, I mean, even Elon Musk, to throw out a dirty word, but it's like, did we make no space for them because of just gender inequity in general, but also because of motherhood?
Right.
There's these great minds out there that were never even given the opportunity. Forget about who's taking credit and all that, of just
Right.
like having the space to do it. Like we missed it.
Right. Well, and we only recently have, access to credit and birth control. And I think that those two things, our own money and birth control, are what is going to create the next Benjamin Franklin.
Absolutely. And as someone who took birth control from, you know, responsibly, okay, from the time I was 16, judge away, I don't care, until, basically
It's
my,
very responsible.
yeah,
Who's
and
judging?
yeah, no, just some people are like 16, but yeah,
Oh,
that's when I was
please.
sexually active. So good luck, everybody. I had a good time. All
Yeah.
right. Till about 40, I was married, and we were actually, that was just a different, totally different time, and it was we weren't quite into having a baby, but that was actually when I went through breast cancer and breast cancer surgery, so I did get
Mm.
off birth control, but it was right around that, and I will tell you that I I I can't even. I guess it was Canada, and I just didn't even think. I can't even believe how accessible it was. I can't even believe that, like, anyone not having access to that. I cannot believe we stepped backwards so hard, so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about why you think that is because I feel like Gen X is the most powerful generation of women to have ever lived, right? And we are now coming into our full agency. We are leading organizations. We are super successful. We have our own money. Our kids are grown for the most part. Like if you're in your 50s, 60s, like, and you're still working, you're still doing your work out there in the world, like you are single minded.
Yeah,
You are focused as fuck. And that's scary to see how much agency we have and how much we can actually do and impact.
yeah. I hope we can
Um,
impact. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of incredible voices out there saying smart, reasonable, great things, and they are not listened to. Like, it's just, I'm like, wow. So,
yeah.
uh
And I think we don't connect the dots between insights and policy. Like,
sure.
I think that's the connection that's broken is that the policymakers are broken. Like that whole system of like how we're actually enabled to impact change in the country. Like all those functions are broken.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, we're all out here screaming about, equity and how empowerment and liberation, and all of this. And the systems conspire to not allow us to make change.
Right.
But
And
I have to believe that we are and we can.
yeah, and I think that, right, it's like it's breadcrumbs. That's the word. And obviously there's so much instability in the world right now, specific also to impending ch- changes in government, changes coming up
Doom?
with
Yeah.
doom. That's the word I'm circling around. I mean, there are plenty of women out there who are very strongly and saying that, I'm not no kid by choice. I applaud those people. What's funny is that I go, that was me. I mean, I called on
Oh,
the
okay, yeah.
rooftops of every.
I'm not having kids.
I'm not
Yeah.
having kids, and I had a host of reasons. Sane, correct, may I
Yeah.
say, correct reasons of all the things that everyone says, and even more, and part of it was just personal. Part of it was like, why not just have a great life without it? Part of it was
Mhm.
like, how do I do this career? I made the choice of the career that means I cannot have a child, and because of what this just the logistics of the career. I mean, there was just so many factors, and then I changed my mind.
Well,
Which you may
and
also say is the most female quality of all. Okay.
well, we change.
You're allowed to.
We're not fixed.
You're allowed
We
to.
change, we evolve, we grow. I mean, Lord knows I don't want what I wanted in my 20s,
No.
like I want something different.
Yeah, I
Um,
I don't judge anyone with tattoos, because if you figure that out, I'm actually in awe of you. But I know that I couldn't, like, my ideas of what I wanted to ink on my body when I was 18. I'm like thankful every day that I did not
Me
get
too.
a sun and a moon on my ankle. Okay?
I got my belly button pierced because I knew I was too fickle to get a tattoo that
Yeah.
I would like forever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing was meaningful to me on that level. Like, and people that have done it, I'm sort of like, that is so beautiful. I'm literally jealous of them. Like, how do
Yeah.
you know you like something so much? What's that like?
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah. Um, I love your critique of this culture of forced positivity and gratitude and manifestation. Can you talk a little bit about your your cultural critique kind of project that you do out there in the
sure.
world?
Great. I'd love to. And I want to do more of it. I'm hoping to do like literally an art installation of it
Yeah.
sometime, maybe in the fall. I don't know. That's like another thing. Find an art studio. So basically, a lot of people talk about now toxic positivity, but you may have noticed, depending on how old you are, but I think your audience is perfect, that something like positive affirmations were almost like a prescription in the past. It
Mhm.
was almost like you're in a really low point. Maybe you should read a Dale Carnegie book. I don't know, or whatever, like a
Yeah,
book.
Eckhart Tolle. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, there was these sort of whispers of like, oh, I have a post-it note. It was always, I have a post-it note on my mirror that says, today's a great day, or you are worthy, or whatever. And it was, like kind of this sort of private thing. And then I can't quite pinpoint it, but I'm going to say somewhere post pandemic. Now, with the sort of yoga world and Buddhism light, as I say, sweeping America, that was happening 2000s, whatever, Shante Shante. There was like more of this
Wellness.
like
Yeah.
wellness. So there's like Eastern philosophy kind of dipping its toes into Lululemon pants. And it's all being reimagined in this
I think you
very
get the Free People Athleisure brand when you join that chocolate and peanut butter.
yeah, I used to have a joke about how I went to yoga class and my my bra only had two straps, and I realized that was like an amateur move, that the more straps you have on your back, that is the
If it looks
closer
like a spider web, you're
to
really a
nirvana.
yogi.
Yeah, you must be
Yeah.
higher up. Because I would be like, that person has 27 straps. That must mean something. So
Yeah, she's super evolved.
she's super evolved. So and then all of a sudden I just felt like one day I walked out into the world and I was like, there's positive affirmations in fonts framed that you can buy, or someone has done it independently, and they're in my coffee shop. In the bookstore, every single journal has one on the front. You're hard pressed to just find like a graphic design. uh, they are in clothing stores. All of a sudden, gratitude journals are being, I mean, very marketed at women.
Yeah.
Just like gratitude journal, be thankful every day, be thankful. In a way, honestly, I do not think that's marketed to men. And my joke a little bit of that is, because what is a man going to say? You're welcome. Like, it's a different relationship. It is all for women to be like, I'm supposed to be thankful about this for the small morsels that society has given me. And every day I just have to be like, oh my goodness, like, I remember someone saying to me, do a gratitude journal, and I'm not completely against it. I get it. Count your blessings. I get it. This world
Yeah.
is fleeting, and every day could be something tragic. I've been there. I'm riddled with tragedy. Okay, people, I know from trauma, but
Yeah, you're a
also,
comic.
oh yeah, exactly. Also, when someone once said to me, write in a gratitude journal, and I literally said, about what?
Mm.
And they said, write that, if you had a nice cup of tea, write that you really enjoyed your tea. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, no, no. No. This is bad. This is bad. That's not. No. That is like, to me, like, it's almost like we're, like you're saying, like, don't give up your power. Don't give up your power and be like, I'm grateful to the tea. So now we're done. Like, you have to be in a little bit of a state of like, this tea should be better. Like, there's got to be a little bit of that state.
There should be more than tea.
There should be
Yeah.
more than tea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel like it makes it's this whole culture is, it's just of that positivity. It's a little bit like putting the onus on you, and also like, don't do anything. Like, I really was like, when does wellness and self-care just become lazy. Like you're not doing anything. You're just spending all of your time like introspective and taking care of yourself. And I'm
Right.
not
So you're
saying
not
don't do it, but it's like it's gone off the deep end.
right. So it's all this sort of, what's the word? Solipsism. Like
Yes.
you're just inward facing, and your
Good
frame of reference.
word.
Thank you so much. I did go to a nice college.
You sure did.
This is where these things come in handy. Um yeah, you're just looking inward, and you're just in a system of reference to yourself. Um
Constantly.
and then but don't, you know, don't look up and out
Don't
and
look up.
don't look
Exactly.
up. Yeah. Yeah. So what is it that you do to counter this culture of
Oh,
toxic
yes, I will tell
positivity?
you.
You have
But
an art project.
I do have an art project. But just one thing I want to say, my mother,
Yeah.
she's passed and she was a very positive person. But I
Yeah,
remember
mine too.
yeah, I remember having this
Yeah.
kind of conversation with her. And she was saying, she goes, when things are hard, you're not supposed to turn inside. You're supposed to go help people. She goes,
Mm,
taking care of yourself, go help people. That's what's going to
mm,
make you. And I was like, that's, that's part of the problem.
right.
Go help people. Anyhow, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I do it all, but it's just so what I do is every time I see one of these very trite framed from Michaels or Home Goods or whatever positive affirmation that are everywhere, I take a post-it note and I write a FU statement
You
back
please
to
say
it.
exactly what you write.
Oh, I write things like, I mean, I'll say, it will be like, you're in charge of your destiny. And I'll write like, or is it the fucking patriarchy? And then I'll stick it on the thing in public, in a Target store, in a cafe,
So
in a
someone will
coffee
find
shop.
it.
And then I will take a photo of it and then I will post it on Instagram. And it actually started, I was at an Airbnb and I was in a really low state. It was like this thing where we booked this little trip to like whatever, South Jersey, the Jersey Shore, the little
Yeah,
summer
nice.
trip, and we had an Airbnb, and it was one of these Airbnbs that no one's ever lived in. It was bought and staged for the point of just being a
Yeah.
vacation rental. And when we got there, right before we got there, we got some really tragic news that we were processing, and we're in this Airbnb on this like lovely supposed beach vacation, and we're just like grappling with the state of our lives. And this place had a little wood cutout in a cursive font that said relax. And it bothered me. And they more of that. And that just, I was just like, go fuck yourself. So I just wrote it and posted it on and took a photo. And then there was another one in in the bedroom. And I was like, oh god damn, don't fucking tell me how to think. And I
Breathe,
yeah,
Ophira,
yeah, it was
breathe.
breathe. And I was like, I'm just trying to fucking exhale. And I just wrote it and posted it and immediately, whatever, it was just for fun. And but people just dug it. And then it was this relief of finding out. I was posting it just as a catharsis, like this was just my catharsis. But people responded to it and also feel the same, right?
Mm,
They just, a lot of people feel the same, that
mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of a zombie world of like, manifest your success, believe you are worthy. And then, we're just kind of tweaking around them, going like, what that's not how you do it. Like, it's not every
That's
moment
not
is
going to be enough.
yeah, 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 relax. You fucking relax. I'm trying to get something happening.
I'm grateful for that point of view because I am a believer in journaling and visualization and all of that stuff. I've always had vision boards and all of these things. I always say I'm woo adjacent.
Yeah.
I'm like not fully in on the woo, but like I will get my chart read every 5 years. Like, you know,
I love
why
that
not?
stuff too. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. But I think, obviously I don't need to tell you that you're smart. You're smart. And so I feel like you can have that's like organizing your goals and organizing your thoughts and putting them in a format that feels interesting to you, like a vision board. Or, I mean, I'm a list maker. I have goal lists everywhere. And I sometimes, because things are tough, sometimes you do have to get up in the morning and look in the mirror and go like, okay, we're going to do this, and kind of talk yourself into a
Yeah.
frame of mind to do it. I just don't want someone else telling me. And I
Well,
don't
and
think,
profiting off of that too, where
and I
it's
don't, yeah, I don't think any woman wants to be told to relax.
no, that's the perfect way to get in a fight with your husband. Is whenever they tell you to relax. I'll show you fucking relaxed.
Isn't that interesting? That is so true. That is
Yeah.
so true. That, yeah. So I feel like anytime, and you know what, I'm a little, I'm hard on people. I've been told that before. I'm hard on my friends sometimes. I expect too much of people. Blah blah blah. Okay, rise up. No,
Idealism. Yep.
but I've gone through, like I mentioned, cancer diagnosis, some really tough things, and that's when you see how poorly equipped most of us are with um, communicating empathy,
Mm,
saying how afraid everyone is, how bad we are, kind of like we don't know how to show up. We know
mm,
how to say believe, but we don't
right.
know, or like, if you need anything, let me know, as you're backing out the door, running down the street. Please, I hope you never, like, I mean, I don't know if anyone, that's a great intention. If you need anything, let me know. It's very passive, and that's just related to, I don't know what to do.
Right. I'd rather have someone show up and be like, hey, I love you. I don't know what to say right now. Like,
Yeah.
I want to show up for you. I don't know how to do that. Like, but just know that that's where I'm at and I'm feel for you and like, you know, let's maybe brainstorm about what I can do to help.
Yeah. Or, I mean, literally, show up and let's go for coffee. Like,
Yeah,
literally show up
show up.
and take me physically. I remember at one point someone did say to me, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And I said, could you come and do my laundry? And they
Mm.
were like, ha 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 ha. And I was like,
Oh no.
I'm serious. You want, I'm giving you an idea.
Oh,
Come
they just should have
and
said
do
yes.
my laundry. Yeah. They
Mm.
were like, are you serious? And then of course I got all like, oh, maybe sorry. Yeah. So, anyways, I
Right.
feel like some of the toxic positivity stuff gives people the wrong words to say when someone is trying to, is going through something and they need real humanity. It's like
Yeah.
in the place of real humanity. I'm not saying don't be positive. I'm just saying this shit. And then I just don't like it in the profitable, like, little sign. Yeah. The home
Yeah.
sense sign.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, live, love,
I love it
laugh.
so
That's a
much.
joke, but
Yeah. I mean, but Ophira, like, that's what we want to do. We want to live. We want to love.
we want to love.
We want to laugh.
We want to laugh.
You
I
should
mean,
reclaim that.
I have a joke right now, and I'll, please, anyone listening to this, come see my act, and I promise there's more than this joke. But I just have a joke. I'm not going to tell the joke, but I'll tell you the intention about, because this stuff's so out there. I even saw it in a doctor's waiting room, and I was just thinking how, like, do you want to know everyone around you is on a self-esteem journey? Like, do you want to be wheeled into surgery and see that your surgeon has above the operating table showing up is 90%? Like, you would be like, no.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah, you would be like, that's for, like, so then we're also like, well, that's not for them, that's only for these people.
Oh my God. That's amazing. No, I'd rather have a surgeon who's an arrogant fuck. That's who they're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. An excess of self confidence in that arena, please. I
God,
love
right,
it.
megalomaniac with a god complex. What happened
Yes,
to those people?
please.
Let's build some more megalomaniacs. Oh, you're right. I don't want that either. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. I know
No.
that person.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. They run everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love, anyways, you may say it's an easy target, positivity, but, and you might say, I am an optimist. I am just a cynical optimist. That is what I am. It's a
I
rare
think
breed.
that's honest.
Yeah.
But I think that's honest. And like, I don't know how we figure out how to be happy if we're not honest,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I really look at this world like tomorrow is going to be a better day. I really look at it like that
Yeah.
all the time. I have my entire life. I'm a very much look forward person. Even with parenting has done a lot of that to me because you have to. The struggle in the moment can be so insane. Even when you're just dealing with like a fussy toddler, these things
Right.
feel paramount and
Right.
you have to it was a hard lesson just learning that it changes so quickly and you have to, I don't know, like just give yourself into the fact that that's going to happen and step back a bit.
And be grateful for the fact that it's going to change, because for me, like when the things have been the hardest in parenting, I have leaned into the idea that like this is just today.
Can't wait.
This is
Yeah,
just
can't
for
wait for this
now.
to change.
This will evolve. Everything will shift. I mean, as my kids are going from being kids to being
Oh
teenagers,
my god.
like we're in a liminal stage.
It's my favorite
And
word.
yeah, and I love it. I love them. I love their weird changeling selves. Like, I love that they're discovering who they are, but there's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of puberty and there's a lot of hormones, and it's not always going to be like this,
Yeah.
you know? And so, yeah, for me, that's the only thing I really know about parenting is like just try to show up as things evolve.
That's yeah.
And don't get too
Exactly.
locked in. Yeah, don't get too locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. That's a hard lesson. The true like letting go is that's what every single positive affirmation should read. Cuz man, that is what we have to do sometimes. It's like let it go. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Don't hold so
Um,
tight. Yeah.
don't hold so tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about, abortion rights. Hold tighter.
Please. Scratch and claw for those. Ophira, I love this conversation. I'm going to ask you the question that I've asked everyone who's come on this podcast, which is, are there any deal terms in your life today? Tacit or what's the opposite of tacit? Explicit? Yeah,
Yeah.
spoken or unspoken. How about that? That you would like to renegotiate. Because I think we always feel like whatever it is that we've agreed to and the way our lives are set up and the way we do things are fixed, and they're
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm curious about that for you.
The main one I have, which is ongoing, and I need to renegotiate it, but it's the one that I'm the most scared of,
Mm.
is that as a woman in my career, specific in general, I do think that if I did less and had more breath, if I had more time in these metaphorical compression chambers or whatever they're called for the scuba divers, I think I would do better.
Mm.
But I have become such a master my whole life of doing so much. And I think most women feel like this. Like you look back at one day and you go, I lived 5 people's days in that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is unsustainable, but I also think if I could figure out how to just go, oh, this is going to be really scary, but I'm doing half,
Mm.
and there might be a lot of stuff that gets kicked up about that. I think I would do better.
Yeah. And
But I
maybe it's
don't
about building in just to start some of those compression chamber transition windows.
It's hard. It's hard to allow yourself to do like there you go. That's my self-care. That would be my self-care to figure out, and part of that is that whole yes syndrome that we talk about. Like
Yeah.
I built my whole career and even as a woman just like, "Oh, you need this?" Yes. You need this? Yes. Even last night I was on a gig with a couple guys that was very nice and then they got Ubered home, but I was going to be only Ubered to Manhattan because I'm the only one that lives in Brooklyn. And I just let it happen. And I was like, God, I'm still 22 years old, just being like, I'm good. I'm good. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I know it would be preferable to everybody if I was invisible. I get it. I'll be smaller. Look at me, how small I am.
God damn it.
And so it's like that. I would love to they call it there's the power of yes and there's the power of no. And I still feel increasingly that I have to be a yes person. I feel like I have to.
Mm.
I never got into the mode where I was like, I'm going to say no. And maybe I'm wrong.
I wish you a whole bunch of no. I wish you
Yeah.
sharp elbows to protect yourself, to keep, people from encroaching on what you need.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the work you're doing in the world. I'm so grateful for your
You're so nice.
voice and your
Thank
point
you.
of view and for coming on to talk. I just really appreciate it. And I love knowing you.
I love knowing you too, Erin. I'm so glad to reconnect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, I'm going to put all of Ophira's information into the show notes. But Ophira, can you tell people where to find you?
Absolutely. Most importantly, I am at Ophira on Venmo.
Send cash.
Send cold card cash. All of my shows, like I play live a lot, is at ophiraeisenberg.com, but I also post it on my socials. Please follow me. Getting a following is all anyone cares about in my career, as it turns out.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, there's something that people don't know. When you start stand-up comedy, you do something called bringer shows because you're an amateur stand-up. And so the New York clubs go, great, you're going to perform, but you need to bring 5 of your friends because that's how they're going to fill a crowd, because
Right.
who wants to go to an open mic night? Well, guess what, everybody? Now every show is a bringer show because every club goes, great, we're doing 0 marketing. Can you bring your crowd?
Well, hopefully Hotter Than Ever listeners will become part of your crowd.
Follow me. I'm at Ophira E is my point. So follow me. It's fun. I promise. You'll have a good time.
And listen to Parenting as a Joke. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, you can find it, as you say, Erin, wherever you can find podcasts.
That's right. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Hotter Than Ever. If you loved this conversation, please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Your honest, heartfelt feedback means the world to me and to future listeners of the show. Also, tell your friends that maybe it's a good idea to listen to Hotter Than Ever. Share this very episode. It's so easy. And then you and your friend can talk about it and share stories from your own lives and get closer and feel inspired and lit up. It's just a virtuous cycle. Also, do not forget to sign up for the Hotter Than Ever newsletter at hotterthanever.substack.com. People are signing up every day. I would love to see you over on Substack. That's where we can keep the conversation going and you can share what you think of the show. If you have notes for me, I am wide open.